All right, welcome to Cleveland Heights Committee of the Whole meeting. It's August 4th at 6 o'clock. I'm calling this meeting to order. Addie, would you please call the roll?
Cobb.
Here.
Kuda.
Here.
Petrus.
Here.
Larson. Here. Maddox.
Here.
Russell. Here. Posh.
Here.
All right, we have a pretty jam-packed agenda. I'm gonna ask Councilman Cobb to, first order of business is executive session. So go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session for A, preparing for, conducting or reviewing negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees or their representatives concerning such employees' compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment. And B, to consider the lease or sale of city-owned real property and to consider confidential information related to the marketing plans, specific business strategy, production techniques, trade secrets, or personal financial statements of an applicant for economic development assistance or to negotiations with other political subdivisions respecting requests for economic development assistance as necessary to protect the interests of the applicant or the possible investment or expenditure of public funds to be made in connection with the economic development project.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Addie, go ahead and call the roll.
Cobb.
Aye.
Petrus.
Aye.
Kuda.
Aye.
Maddox.
Aye.
Larson.
Aye.
Russell. Posh.
Aye.
Okay, so we're gonna move into executive session. We should, for the public who's watching, we'll be probably out in about 45 minutes. If there's anybody in the room that doesn't need to be here, you can step out now. All right, we are back from executive session, and we're gonna now go on to legislative review. So I'll start with first reading consideration of adoption requested for today. Ordinance number 146, 2025, an ordinance to repeal and replace certain subparagraphs of ordinance 1125 relating to appropriations and expenditures through the fiscal year. Yes.
Yeah, I just hope that everybody in the council saw the responses that Director Harrison gave me to my questions.
I did.
So I wanted you to know those were my queries and I'm satisfied with the answers.
Alright, this is the 338,000. Alright,
What about the Cumberland Sun, Cumberland Pool? Why was there more money for the Cumberland Pool project? They said 2025 and the PO has 2024.
yeah, you know, Colette's not here. Clinkscale, sorry, Director Clinkscale. Do you,
Be a question for Tony Corona is here, recently, Director Gonzalez is here, to discuss the that question.
oh, I'm sorry. I mean, Cumberland.
The Frank Novak and Son, the Cumberland Pool. Why was the money for the Cumberland Pool project budgeted for 2025 when the PO has 2024?
So the monies were encumbered at the end, if you guys remember that whole thing with the boiler, we're not doing the boilers, we're gonna reappropriate the dollars to do the Frank Novak and Son. So the money was appropriated at the end of 2024 for that project. What ended up happening is that it didn't end up hitting the books until January of 2025.
Mhm.
So what ended up happening is that the monies that we had encumbered didn't get put into that account, so they ended up going back into the general fund. And the $200,000 ended up coming out of our 2025 capital budget. So all we're doing is, because the monies went back into the general fund, we're trying to get that money back into the capital budget, because otherwise we would be $200,000 short for capital that was approved for 2025.
Alright, I have one, oh, go ahead, sorry. No, please.
Is there, can we get some supporting documents to some of this for the bids and projects?
Regarding the
All of them, actually, like the bids for Novak. Do we have the supporting documentation for their project?
We have their proposal.
Their proposal?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's,
That-
so anytime that we secure a purchase order, the proposal has to be attached to that purchase order in order for us to get the
Yeah.
dollars.
Okay.
So yeah, definitely.
Did we get it?
Should have got it. I'll check.
That's what I'm looking for, just attached documents to verify some of it.
So the $67,428 for the garage, I'm taking it that the 500,000 in ARPA funds for that, this is exceeding that amount,
That's correct.
yeah. Cause we haven't already spent the 500,000, but it's like earmarked for certain things.
That's correct. Yeah, we have a purchase order already established for
Got
that, for that amount. But unfortunately, we ran into some pretty severe structural damage. Once you know, the stairs all have that like nature stone on them.
Right,
So when the nature stone was taken off, it uncovered some pretty severe structural damage that needs to be addressed before we can move forward with anything else in there.
thank you.
I'm glad to see work being done on the garage. Do we have an estimated time frame for completion?
They said mid-November.
Okay.
All right,
What is the project revenue return on the $50,000 investment for the concessions?
The projected,
Projected revenue.
It's hard to say what the projected revenue is gonna say because this is really the first time in a long time that we're actually moving it back in-house.
Oh, okay.
So it's always been subcontracted out. So after this year, we would probably have a better knowledge of what our revenues would be moving forward and what.
you know, I just wanna say the lines at the Isley Brothers concert were a lot, you know, for concessions, that was moving. And that was sold out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had
So-
about 2,500 people
Yeah,
at
I
that
mean,
concert. Yeah.
So you've definitely gotten that under control, cause I can remember last year, the lines being unmanageable.
Yeah, they're doing, the Kane Park staff is doing a great
Yeah.
job down there.
So, go ahead.
How will the scoreboard upgrades affect future maintenance on the budget?
It won't, it should last us 20 years now.
20 years?
Yeah.
All right,
I
thank
mean,
you.
that's just as long as the current one has lasted us, so it should be up for quite a while now.
Thank you.
All right, 14720.
Before we move on, just one quick question. I don't know why, and I'm not terribly, I don't need it to be one way or another necessarily, but for the Fund 402, that we're looking at here, this two transfers from general fund to Fund 402. I feel like we could skip the middleman and just increase the budget for Fund 402 by the 18.2 and 67.4 instead of taking it out of general fund. Why don't we just do that? That was my expectation at the outset of this.
Say that again, Mayor, I'm sorry.
Instead of taking money out of the general fund, just increase the Fund 402 Finance Capital Projects line. And account for these increases just by directly increasing the budget for Fund 402 as opposed to taking money out of the general fund. And we may have that same action opportunity in Fund 216 as well.
Well, if that's the case, then we would need to amend or no?
Yes.
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 Okay. So,
If I can mention one more thing, since we're talking about amendments as well too, is that on Exhibit A, the line item for the concessions is actually wrong on there. We need that to go into it would actually be 101-8406, which is general rec. It has it going into Fund 215, which is Kane Park. We'll evaluate the Kane Park concession one in the 2026 budget.
Mhm.
But this one needs to be amended to read 101.8406. which is general rec for those, for the concessions. That's on the exhibit A, I believe.
Okay. Thank you.
Alright, 147 is appointing Peggy Spaeth to Parks and Rec Advisory Board. Any questions? 148 is a resolution declaring the necessity of implementing, yes,
What did you like about Ms. Spaeth?
me in particular,
Not just generally the council.
I mean, she's,
She was a long-serving board member before she resigned. She wanted to come back on. People that I talked to on the recreation board, liked her and recommended that, she come back on. I don't know what led her to, resign. I think that she rethought that.
148 is
Yeah, and I think she did it up.
the Cedar Fairmount Special Improvement District Public Service Plan, I think it's a 5-year plan. Any
Mr.
questions?
President, this
Yeah.
is the resolution of necessity, declaring the necessity of implementing the plan. And this is the preparatory step to serving notices of the assessment on property owners. Chris Heltzel is right now preparing a very slightly amended resolution, which would in section 3 insert the specific parcel numbers for each property that's gonna be subject to the assessment. So that'll be ready before you go into the big room, but I wanted you to be aware of that.
President Kuda,
Yes,
I'm sorry. That makes sense. I wanna go back to 146. If we agree that there's some moving around of funding, et cetera, do we need to vote on it this evening before we see the amendment?
I mean, I'd like to hear, do we? Is it vote tonight?
Just from my perspective, I think that it's important to make the changes. If you were okay with moving the money out of the general fund in order to affect these changes, then that's great, and you can just move forward in that way if you want to. I thought it would be both cleaner and kinder to the general fund generally to just increase the budget of Fund 402, because the money is there. We have money available to use in Fund 402, so instead of
Yeah.
taking money out of the general fund, just increase Fund 402 and go from there.
I would like to see that spreadsheet on the 18th if that works, so.
On the 18th.
Yeah.
So this would, you would expect not to then
That's
vote
what
on
I'm
this tonight?
asking, that's what I'm asking, so.
But that's council's prerogative, I suppose. I think,
Is there an urgency tonight to do it this evening?
well, it's sort of generally, yeah, just to get these things dealt with.
If I might, I mean, as the mayor said, if council wanted to proceed as this is written now, that could be done. If you want to amend this exhibit to reflect just increasing those line items and then making the change that Director Gonzalez articulated, somebody would just need to make a motion to amend the exhibit to reflect those changes.
It's a relatively small change. The dollar figures aren't changing. It's
Right.
just
Just the number.
yeah.
Can you write that out? I mean,
Sure.
I don't wanna do it. Go ahead.
Thank you, I'm
This
sorry.
is random, but since we went back to the budget, we were gonna bring this up other anyway.
Thank you.
The allocation for
Thank you.
Prentice and where the funds are coming from, cause he's probably here again this evening. I know he was at the last meeting and the meeting before.
I'm sorry,
We
who?
just-
Mr.
Prentice
Rodriguez.
Place.
Or
Oh.
yeah,
Oh,
I
right,
don't know where we are with that legislation, and I'm just wondering if we ever made a firm decision on where the funds would come from, if council had agreed on it, but I know when we walk out, I'm assuming he'll be here again. I just hate to see this continue to go on. And the only reason I'm asking is because the Cuyahoga County council person has already asked me if
Yeah.
we were gonna continue to support,
I mean, that's
Right.
fine, but I mean,
I didn't know where.
have you?
We never decided where the $100,000 was gonna come from.
After all this time, nobody's decided?
I mean, I take it you sent something in writing to the
We've been
director.
discussing it for
Well, I
how many
understand that.
meetings?
Yeah, no, I know.
And we discussed it in the finance meeting.
Did you guys have a recommendation?
No, we did not, that was what we were asking for, was the source of funding, and it came out of
This is-
committee.
And this is for, well, again, I couldn't hear. when you-
Prentice Place.
Prentice Place.
Do you have a recommendation?
Yeah.
Director?
I don't have a recommendation. for $100,000.
I mean, the easiest way would just be for you guys to increase the general fund budget and do that. That's, I mean, that's,
It was what?
Thank you, Mayor.
you're welcome.
It's just 100.
Yeah, that was. So we'll try to get that on for the
Did
18th.
you hear what the mayor said? Thank you, thank you,
I
Mayor.
mean, that would be the easiest way, but honestly, it is council's decision. You are the budgetary authority.
Yes,
So in the finance committee, I remember us talking about like requiring reporting. Has that been hashed out, what would be included in there and expected of the recipient? Like I know that the ARPA recipients, for example, some of them are receiving small amounts of money and they have like really onerous reporting.
yeah,
We're
I
gonna have
thought,
some sort of reporting
I
here
mean, I
with
hate
this,
to
right?
be punting on this, but I thought what we were gonna do was hash that out in finance. Or am I wrong?
What I've been charged with, what our committee's been, we agreed that we wanted to work on a process. And that process would not probably include the Prentice project because that's already in the works.
On the works in the process, yeah.
And I think it would be unfair to expect them to fill an application that we haven't yet arrived at for grants. But we want to go, we thought at least there should be back reporting
Yeah,
built into the legislation that Mr. Ivory needs to come to us in 6 months' time or whatever to report
Report
back
back.
how
I
the
agree.
money was utilized.
I agree 100%, and I agree moving forward, then those processes should be put in place.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that, but I'm with Councilman Maddox, it's been going on like
Sure.
dragged out a long time. And I thank the mayor for the recommendation for that line item.
well, I would suggest you make sure that you're doing, you're getting this legislation together through the law department or,
The legislation has already been
But
made,
any changes?
we just need to put
Yeah, I
the
think we
changes
just needed
where,
to
we
find
just
out
need to
the
find out where
allocation,
it's
but yeah, it was
coming from.
already, it was done.
right,
Were
but I
there
mean,
reporting requirements in that legislation?
That's what I don't know.
Yeah, that,
That
I
might
don't
be
think we
the-
tied anything to that.
well, the general fund, I mean, those two
Yes,
things need to
two
be in
things
there,
yeah.
and we're in business. All right.
And reporting in 6 months.
Moving along, we got 149, this is the appointment of Lorna Rudolph.
Mr. President,
Yes,
we go back to 148. I'm looking at the exhibit for 148, and it's not the Cedar Fairmont information, it's the Coventry Village
Oh, boy.
Exhibit A.
Let's
And
see.
it's on a, it says
Correct.
What?
The budget is different. He's looking at the exhibits
It's
on that.
attached to the legislation, right?
yeah,
Okay.
it's on page 15.
That's what I was not-
oops, I see it, yes.
I looked at the numbers, but didn't look at the heading until now.
So,
Let me find the correct exhibit, that's how it was sent to me, so give me 1 second.
thank you for catching that.
It was presented to you guys previously, you guys sent it back without comment. This is, it's the same as the plan that they initially gave you, but I will find it and send it out.
How did this mistake happen? Does anybody know?
I'm not sure, it was the full document was sent to me and that apparently was on it. Attached to the legislation already when I received it.
Do you know who sent it?
I don't, I'd have to find out. I'd have to go back through my emails.
Alright, so we print that attachment, the proper one.
Still voting on it this evening?
We don't know what it is.
Yeah, we need to see that attachment. Does this need to happen today?
Yes.
Otherwise
they won't hit their renewal next year.
Yeah, and you guys, I believe
You did,
did-
yes, the
you
plan was
did
already
already get the
submitted
plan.
and voted on.
previously,
You returned it to them
you
with no
returned it with
comments.
no comment.
Right,
So you already have seen it.
I see.
The wrong
budget-
one was attached, yes.
Yeah, Alright, move on to 149, this is 3 people, putting them on the assessment equalization board, Lorna Rudolph, Joe Mendez, and Kathy Flora. These are usually one-time things, they hear a case and then,
Yeah, if there are objections to the assessment that's proposed, then they would meet. But they're appointed now so that if that does happen, they can be immediately convened.
Let me ask you something, when they um schedule this hearing, do they do it at everybody's convenience so that, you know, cause that's the only thing I was kinda worried about, you know, cause you,
Everybody meaning.
well, the board members and obviously the complaint,
Yes.
okay,
There-
cause
there's
they don't
a-
just say, it's gonna be on this date,
Right, there's,
Take it or leave
well,
it.
there's a 5-day notice period that's required,
you know.
so, yeah. And that's prescribed by the revised code.
Alright, 150 is an ordinance to approve the current replacement pages to the Cleveland Heights codified ordinances. Kind of a housekeeping thing. 151 is an ordinance to accept the tentative agreement in the matter of Cleveland Heights and Laborers Union 860. Any comments, questions on that? Alright, now first readings only, 152. That's an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a subordination agreement with the People's Bank Corp. To subordinate the city's mortgage on the real property located at 12426 Cedar Road. So this is grocery outlet. Sal Russo is here. Basically, he wants to borrow $300,000 above and beyond what's already been put in to the renovation. And this would put us from second to third on the payback list. Maybe that's not the right term to use. You got a better one? I mean, you worked in that industry, I didn't.
Close enough, yeah.
Mr. Russo's here if anybody has questions. Okay. All right, and then,
I just have a question on 150.
mhm.
Does this come from the police department as far as updates for traffic codes and things like that?
What? 150?
150.
150 is just, it's just codifying what you guys have passed over the last year. It's just
updating-
updating our
They send it to
online,
that, what's it called,
the Walter
311.
Green, well, it's
What's it?
American Legal
Yeah, American
Publishing
Legal.
that has it posts our ordinances online.
So-
This is just,
They've looked at this
Update.
and all that?
this is from them.
Okay,
This is updating ours from what you guys have passed over the last year. It's updating our system, our codified ordinances online.
Which
And our
needs to
paper
happen.
copies, which needs to happen.
no, I understand, I just wanted to make sure they were aware of it and saw it and knew what it was.
They sent it over to me, so
Oh.
yeah.
I beg to
It
differ.
came from them.
That's not what I got, that's not what I heard, that's why I was asking.
And it does also reflect all the changes in state law that impact these ordinances.
Yeah, I did see
It's
that.
what you guys passed as well as what the state did that changes them.
I just wondered if our police department was aware of these changes and updates as well.
Okay, 153 is an ordinance amending the use regulations and rates for admission and other services to the community center, city parks, Cumberland Pool for this year and next. Councilwoman Larson, did you have any questions about this?
Yeah, Mr. President,
Oh, go
are you
ahead.
gonna refer that to committee to take a look at these rates and the basis for the recommendation?
Well, the one thing that I don't know is if the two numbers are a range or if they're this year and next year. It wasn't marked, so
It's a range.
it's a range. Okay. So that would be nice to be, so we need the kind of like before and after, you know, kind of side by side. Can that be done? Current rates, new rates.
Sure,
Current rate range,
So the low end on there are the current rates.
oh, that's,
What
Okay, that's what I was
What
asking.
we're just trying to accomplish here is that instead of pinpointing an exact number for council to have to approve every single time, we're just trying to create a range that over the years, you know, I'm not saying that we're gonna go to that top end of that range, that's not what's gonna happen. But we're creating there's never been a range, it's always been an exact number on the fee schedule. So we're just trying to create a range so the administration can create a decent fee based on a range compared to having to pinpoint an exact number in the legislation every single time. Cause what's happening is that at any time that we wanna increase our fees, we have to come back to council every single time. And it can get tedious if we're trying to, do a specific number. So this just gives us a range of where we can go. Obviously, we're not going straight to the top of that by any means. But this gives us a range of where we can go.
You comfortable with that?
Couple questions. One, I do think some of these rates, the bottom lines, need to be looked at. It's been 5 years. Our costs have gone up significantly, wages, utilities, so I do think we need to look at what is the appropriate baseline. Also, and I wanna give you guys discretion, so you don't need to come back to council every year. I think we need to write into this legislation that there is a fee schedule that will be published and posted someplace that's available to the public, giving you the discretion to do that, subject to override by council. So it would be, so you wouldn't need to come to council, but if we see something in the fee schedule that we don't like. So I do think this legislation needs a little bit of work.
And with fixed fees that would be uniformly charged, like everybody needs to get charged the same in the
Same
same
amount,
year.
yep.
Right. And that's why, to answer part of your question as well too, that's why we're bringing this to the table, because it hasn't been visited for a long time and our fees do need to increase. So that's why we're bringing it to the table to do that range, so we have the ability to increase our fees.
Councilman Tosh?
I see a table entry here for indoor pool programs at Heights High. Are you planning on opening up that pool are you making that pool available to Cleveland Heights residents in the fall?
It's still up for discussion at this point.
I just wanna confirm that it's great that you would have that flexibility, so you don't have to come back year after year. And I appreciate the fact, it sounds like you will do that administratively, but the people at the front desk will know exactly what that fee schedule is.
100%.
Okay, thank you.
So Parks and Rec, or do you wanna see
Well, I think
the amended legislation first?
I think it should go to Parks and Recs. I'm glad to make the amendments that I've talked about to work on drafting those.
Alright, so I'll refer that to Parks and Rec. Andy,
Second,
yeah, I don't, you know what, that's,
so.
you have the next one, cause you know what, I don't have I'm going from my notes, not the, which are the new ones?
Oh.
154, 155, and 156.
Yeah. Okay, so 154 is resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Panseca Construction. This is to provide HVAC, electrical and other work to replace and upgrade the Division of Police's locker room, existing officer lockers. So that was,
That's an amendment to the contract, so there's no extra cost involved in that?
No, this is for, so there's a, I think attached with it should have been a proposal from Panseca. It's basically for construction management services, it's about an additional, so what council already approved was about 215, give or take, $1,000 for the lockers and the installation of the lockers.
Okay,
But there's a situation that arose in which
right.
the HVAC, the lockers, I forget what the actual feature is called, but it's like a forced air ventilation mechanism that prevents mold and things from developing in the locker room and in the lockers themselves. So the HVAC needs to be remapped going into the locker room, and so does the electrical wiring to facilitate the motors that power the air distribution, I guess, system on there. So Panseca is offering, the pre-design costs are about like 20,000, and then they're going to be bound by the construction manager bidding requirements that are in the codified ordinances for bidding out the rest of the project.
So the 75K is an estimate.
Yes, the 25, yes.
Well, it says 75 in the legislation.
Maybe it is 75. Oh, no, okay, so that is the threshold that has to be met in order for the construction management contract to be used under the codifieds. And the cost of the lockers and installation alone already includes that. But the codifieds require that an ordinance authorizing a construction management contract include those findings by council. So that's why that's in there.
So these are the three pieces we got right when we sat down.
So are we just amending an existing contract or are we actually
It's a new
being asked to, and what is the value of that new contract?
So right now, the value of the contract is 23,000, but the way the construction management contract works, and again, this is all regulated by the codifieds. It's a guaranteed maximum price contract. So what Panzeca does is they bid out the work that needs to be done to modify the HVAC and electrical systems. They're required to use the lowest and best bid, and then they use that to come up with a guaranteed maximum price. And so then that is the price that they absolutely cannot exceed in providing the design and overseeing the construction and running the bidding process.
So there's nothing, there's no memo to this and there's no supporting
There
documentation
should be
There is
the,
there is, you should have, in the
in the printouts.
printout that I gave
The
you.
new one, we just got to that.
That's not on the online version.
Yeah,
It should be.
there was no online version. Oh, you're saying, yeah.
and that explains everything about the HVAC issues and
I'm gonna go to 155, this is the resolution authorizing mayor to enter into an agreement or amendment there to with all city management services for crossing guards. We do this every year. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to mention about the police lockers. I am very happy to see this move forward. This has been a long time coming. When I first came on council, we talked about it, and so I'm glad to see that it's moving forward and that the lockers will provide. So thank you.
You're welcome. And additionally, just so you know, there has been work done since then. This isn't the first work that's being done.
Yeah.
Since, cause I know you guys took a tour and it was
Yes.
in some pretty rough shape. And
Yes.
This is just an additional piece of work. And I think this will go a lot further than what was done before to try to address some of those issues.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Alright, so no questions on the crossing guards?
No, that's not
we do.
correct.
Okay,
I do. The legislation states that the crossing guards will be funded through December 31st, 2025. And yet it seems to me that we should be signing a contract for the school year 25-26. And it does state on the memo that this will have to be budgeted for during the 26 budget process, so are we just authorizing this expenditure for September or August through December right now?
So, okay, since we're on calendar.
Right,
And so for our purposes, our finance office, staying on calendar year is
Yeah.
easier for us to deal with.
okay,
So on a yearly contract with them makes sense. If council wants to do it differently, let us know.
so this is for a year of services, it's not just ending on December 31st.
the current agreement expires on December 31st of this year.
Okay,
So it covers the last half of the 2025 school year, but
Okay.
then the first half of the 2026 school year.
alright, thank you.
Question. Mayor. Is there a possibility we can revise that to a school year calendar?
You
Would it be too
could.
difficult?
I think we had it previously before last year on the school year and we changed it.
It's just more complicated that way. And additionally, since we are moving away, at least it was my intention, I don't know what's gonna happen next, but it was my intention to continue moving away from the school district. contributing to this. Our comfort level and convenience in terms of our budgeting cycle seem to make more sense to be interested in.
Okay, thank you.
Alright, resolution 156, resolution authorizing a second change order to the agreement with the Breezy Trucking and Paving, Inc. as general contractor for the what was this, Lee
Lee Monmouth.
Lee Monmouth SSO control project. Alright, on the first readings only, these-
So now you're.
oh, yeah, right, thank you. Yeah, the 1 second reading is 127, an ordinance creating a new chapter 1373, exterior walls and aperture, I can't say that word.
Appurtenances.
Facade.
Appurtenances.
Appurtenances, parking garages of Title III, local provisions of Part 13 of Building Code of the Codified Ordinances of Cleveland Heights, to include standards and provisions to regulate the structural integrity of building facades and garages. We need this, go ahead.
So we had a pretty thoughtful email that came across to all of us today from Gail Nolan, who is in this business, and I'm wondering if our chief building officer can just have a look at that and just come back to us with his thoughts about that.
Yeah, maybe some question on whether you want to refer this to planning development, zoning issue, or housing and building. It's up to you guys.
Yeah,
Has this been referred and referred back?
It wasn't, no, that's why we're bringing it up now, if you want to refer to it.
you know, I read the email and it came late, and it wasn't like it was like 4 o'clock when she sent it or something, 3 o'clock, So,
I saw it too, of course.
did
Um,
you think it was worth
um,
exploring?
of course, the ordinance which Director Hannah, myself, and of course, Director Zafir, we were working on it. Resembles a lot Cleveland and Lakewood, keep in mind. Their inspection requirement is every 5 years.
No.
Here, we just thought, let's go through it 2 or 3 years and see what everybody think about it. Of course, does it cost for a structural engineer to inspect facades? Yes, absolutely. It could be costly, however, we have to do it because imagine for 1 second what happened last year, the 2 incidents we have caused fatalities. You know, unfortunately, so we were lucky we didn't have anything like that. But something would cause the death of some of our residents or something like this, that nature. What it would impact our business here entirely, as far as walking districts, such as Fairmont Cedar and Cedar and of course, and how people are going to be conducting business in our town. So that's something which Cleveland and Lakewood took it very seriously back in 2018 and I believe 2020. And I think it's time for Cleveland Heights to take it to the next level. And I believe it would be beneficial for the city. Every 5 years, I'm okay with that. That's very reasonable because the structural engineers on the email were saying in those municipalities is occurring every 5 years, which is fine. Also, it's only concerned for the buildings that are 30 years and older. Keep in mind, like for example, like Fairmont building, which has been newly actually been rehabbed, would be exempt from this. A building such as being rebuilt right now on Cedar, and of course the new construction would be entirely exempt from any of this ordinance. Or some building owners that has, yes, I pulled the permit last year. We repaired our facade and they should be exempt from this ordinance, absolutely. So the question was also what kind of a building would be in this facade? In Cleveland and Lakewood, we do it every 5 stories and or 75 feet tall. They define this as a high rise. unfortunately as well, in Cleveland Heights, we don't have that many highways. So we have to adapt this ordinance to our geographic here, which majority of the pedestrian walking districts are 2 stories, such as Lee Road, Cedar, Fairmont, Coventry. So all those buildings are 2 stories. If you're gonna have this ordinance for 5 stories, majority of these buildings which I speak, I was walking on Coventry the other day and on that white building, which Record Exchange is there. Just look at the top, it's scary. And I think it needs to be inspected by structural engineers to provide what needs to be done.
When you did your inspection,
Yes,
and you're just talking about a building, just walking by, you can see that it's in jeopardy.
correct.
Whatever, compromise perhaps? If we switched it from 2 to 5 years, are you anticipating that there's going to be incident or incidents
Instead of transferring.
that you are concerned about right at this moment in time?
At that time, when we talked with the Director Hannah, should we just do it for every 5 years or every 2 years? How,
Yes.
because everybody was
That
nervous at that
change
time.
is already
Yeah.
What's going on in Cleveland Heights? In a matter of 1 month, 2 facades, 2 parapets collapsed. Which actually the second one was not even 2 stories. It
Right.
was 1-story building, which it would be exempt from this ordinance actually entirely.
Increase.
But I think
That's the change.
every 5 years I'm okay because Mother Nature reacts in a strange way on our building,
Right, that's right.
of course. And but then if you,
So they can just.
member of the council, if you believe 3 years should be done, I'm totally okay with that as well too.
Go ahead, and
Well, I
we
mean,
have to make a decision.
I think we go with your recommendation on the years. I mean, you know the city, you know, this is just a structural engineer who, you know, comes to us with some suggestions.
Correct.
I'm, you know, when I suggested just get your feedback on it, it's not that I'm questioning anything. I just wanted you to have the opportunity to have a look at that to see if it made any sense to make any of the changes, such as add some of the additional ACI
Correct.
recommendations if you see fit. So I just wanted to make sure that we're really approving the best thing possible.
And of course, I'm sorry. Just tonight, of course, is not, I'm not here to push you to pass this ordinance. Please have a 3rd reading. Please do so. It is important to pass as soon as possible, but we have to make sure, of course, with your votes, with your permission, to pass the best ordinance to fit Cleveland Heights.
I didn't read that email yet, so I can't.
I didn't either.
Go ahead.
Outside of the email that we received today, what feedback did the administration receive from business owners, property owners, other engineers, other stakeholders?
Everybody pretty much, again, you have to make sure there are 2 different things. Some people may look at it as a business, as a money making. And some people, they're gonna really think about, no, this is the history of Cleveland Heights we're gonna be preserving. We're not gonna demolish this house, we're gonna be rehabbing and remodeling it. And actually, I wish I had a little presentation about Fairmont because the old stone but which they replaced, engineering and science, they have a new material now they are using, is fiberglass. Which is lighter material and but looks like exactly like a stone. If it falls down, it would be less, which the way they fasten it, the way they rebuild them, that would not be the case. So,
Did we reach out to folks for feedback?
correct. So some of the, of course, majority of the people are happy about it because something had to be done, something needs to be done, of course. But the question was, how are we gonna be enforcing it? And the good news is, member of the council, as of last Monday, we completed our building department. So we are fully staffed. That's the good news. It was a big challenge this past year for me. But again, so we're gonna be thinking about the next step, how we're gonna be enforcing this, which Cleveland had created a unit for that, like, you know, but here, such a small town, compared to Cleveland, we could manage it with maybe few inspectors who would be just doing controlling, make sure everybody is gonna be going through this press procedure, if there are anybody who are not trying to follow this ordinance, to make sure they are following this ordinance and then reminding them to do so. That's for the safety of the resident, of course. And the feedback in general is good overall.
So do we wanna vote on this tonight, or do we wanna do a third reading? Go ahead.
I'd suggest a third reading. It just
Yes.
gives everybody the opportunity. I mean, it was suggested by our chief building official. It just make sure that if there's anything in this you think that needs to be amended, I think we'd welcome that.
I encourage you for third reading, definitely.
Mr. President,
Yeah.
just two quick points. One to Councilor Larson's question. So within the draft legislation is a 6-month and 12-month period for all buildings to come into compliance. So I know the concern about, hey, there might be some that we think we're worried about. They would be captured within that first. You have to apply for this initially, and then it would be the 2 years or the 5 years. And then the second thing is, and we can, I think, share this better, but we did essentially use all our database to email everybody who has a building about this ordinance. So we tried to reach everybody, including people who were just would be exempt from it, and that was some of the feedback.
I'd like to of course, Deirdre have mentioned that a third reading would be even better because more people would be even notified, because we don't wanna have residents coming here or building owners, I never heard about this, what you guys are passing this, so that's a great thing.
Could we receive a copy of the feedback that you received to that like particular outreach email?
The email, yes, of course. I will.
Great, thank you, appreciate it.
Alright, that's all for the legislative review. We really don't have time for the rest of this. I'm gonna skip the decorum. I hope everybody can keep that together. Charter review workshop, Addie's not here, but I was hoping that everybody responded because we're gonna need to,
She did not get enough responses to get a quorum.
okay, so she didn't. Alright, so
Does that mean not enough of us responded to?
get a quorum for, so we need to have workshop meetings for the charter review. We gotta look at what Director Hannah is giving us and you know, we need to go over it, we need to go through it. I mean, did you, are you sending that out today?
I'll send it out, yeah,
Okay,
before
so
midnight.
so we'll have it, obviously we'll need a few days. Vice President Russell suggested that we try to do this as much as we can during the weeks we already have a scheduled meeting, so that would be this week. Is there anybody that did Addie, I wish she was here, but did she not get responses or did she just not get enough positive responses?
Believe she did not get enough people responding to the doodle poll
Okay.
to be able to establish that we had a quorum for any meeting.
So,
Yeah, she called me personally, but this week I just couldn't do it.
at all. Okay, well that's an answer. I mean, you know, I'm just talking about the people who didn't answer.
Right, I did not answer, I couldn't do it this
Well, I mean, that's an answer. I mean, so it'd be,
week. Right,
okay.
so when
It's a-
this
it's a-
evening, I will
Yeah,
go
It's
into
a
that.
month's worth of
Dates.
dates.
Yeah.
So
She
I'm just
specifically wanted.
I'm just saying, we got a lot to go through. So we're going to have to look at next week then. So sorry, I mean, we're not gonna be able to do what you wanted to do. We can't do this. So I'm gonna ask Addie to send out another doodle poll for next week, because we can't get a quorum
Yeah.
this week. You don't have to do it now.
No, I know,
Um,
but I was gonna bring up, because we don't have any for, not just,
Well, we just verbally kind of
Yeah.
got that we can't do it
And
this
you
week.
may have a quorum, because I think Anthony and myself did not get a chance to go on it.
But we didn't get a quorum with the people who did answer, so
Oh,
so
is that what it is?
so can
Well-
you go ahead and answer?
Oh, tonight, today is our first day back, okay?
yeah, but the point is, it wouldn't have mattered, cause now with you two out, the five of us didn't land, we all could do some of it, but not on the same day, so
Oh, okay.
we're in the same boat. So we'll,
I'll send out
please,
more.
let's get something next week, and we're gonna need to probably do at least 2 of these. They're just gonna be just workshops, just you know, committee of the whole workshops to go through the charter and, cause we have till, I mean, the September 4th is our deadline, but
Can I ask if there are people though that can do, cause we tentatively have August 25th, which is Monday at 6, after admin services, is already meeting at 5. Is there any potential?
I mean, that would be, you know, we could do a regular meeting on that day, right? That's a Monday, correct?
I'm at committee of the whole.
I-
For
I
a special meeting hall
understood.
for the,
But,
You said the 25th?
Do you wanna meet before then though?
oh, we'll definitely have to meet
oh
before
yes,
then.
I just meant it to just get something down.
That's fine for me.
Alright,
I think I already sent out.
and then two real quick things. So we do have an attorney and a contract signed. And he couldn't come tonight, because I obviously wanna introduce him to everybody. But his name's Steve Byron, and you just have to let me know if and when you need his services. I mean, I'm not gonna say no unless for some reason we start getting such a large amount of, you know, fees piled up or something.
But we do have to go through you as the gatekeeper
You do,
though, yeah.
yeah. And I did invite him to come on the 18th. And then on other, Councilwoman Larson, you have two pieces of legislation you wanna talk about?
Yeah. I'm asking for your consensus on two pieces of legislation. The Transportation Mobility Committee has recommended that council approve the revised complete and green streets legislation that the committee has worked on. And they prepared the documents, they've done to strengthen the original legislation passed in 2018. But now it needs to go to the law department for vetting, so I'm just asking for approval from everybody here that I could send those documents, it's all prepared, and I just haven't shared it with Director Hannah yet because I wanted to know if it was okay to have that looked at.
Question, have they sent it to the administration for review and comment?
What the intent was to send it to Director Hannah and then send it to Director Zamp and Director Klinkscale, who looked at it somewhat. Director Zamp spent quite a bit of time in his department looking at it, so we wanted to include him in the final, yeah.
Okay.
It's really important that we have buy-in. So do I have consensus to go ahead with that?
For me, yes.
The second one, Councilor Posh has asked me to prepare sample legislation and additional resources to request a piece of legislation to regulate feeding the deer population in Cleveland Heights. I'm asking for council's approval and to send the prepared documents to the law department for vetting. So
Absolutely.
banning the feeding of deer.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They have destroyed my
Hostas.
front yard.
Hostas are gone.
Thank you, that's our first step in what we're talking about in that committee. And Director Hannah, will you need me to make an appointment to discuss those two pieces of legislation once you had a chance to look at them?
Sure, yeah, we can set something up. I'm gonna be out of the office from Wednesday through next Wednesday morning.
Not a problem. You can go ahead and feel free to go.
Alright, before I adjourn the meeting, let me just say that I am attending a First Suburbs meeting at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. They took me up on bringing ODNR in to do the deer management thing. I've been asking, you know, that was my first question at the hearing was if we could do this regionally, it would be a lot more effective. I'm so pleased that the First Suburbs group is gonna take this up, and I will report back.
It's Wednesday.
I think it's, okay,
It's Wednesday
it might
morning,
be
9
more.
a.m.
Clarification on that, so
Yes.
you're talking about
You're
the
right.
doing an aerial inventory of the whole region rather than just Cleveland Heights?
Yes, and with the cooperation of the municipal governments,
Great.
you know, so at least there's that chance that we might be able to do something, you know, in a comprehensive way with the, you know, people, other governments in this
I have a
county.
question, do we need Director Hannah when we doing the chart review? Are we done?
We
'Cause
do.
he just said he's gonna be out of town.
I responded,
Oh,
but I did not include any dates in that 6.5 days.
okay.
So, could maybe Steve Byron do this, or do you suggest we do it only with you?
I think it'd be more efficient to get started with me, but
Okay. So next week is out.
the first half of the week,
First half.
Oh, okay. So we're looking at Thursday, Friday?
that would work.
Alright,
So,
alright, this meeting is finally adjourned at 8:10.